Well, hey everyone, greetings. Good morning, good day, good week, good semester, good new year, good all the new things. It is the first day of the spring semester 2026, Tuesday, the day after Martin Luther King Day, and so it is my custom to record an introductory video, fresh one, for all my classes. So I've got three syllabi, three different classes that I'm doing. Perhaps you're in a couple, maybe just one. So I gotta record three videos, three intro videos here, starting with 409, Communication, Comm Studies 409, the Rhetorical Tradition. This is my longest, oldest class that I've been teaching ever, pretty much in some version or other, ever since I joined the faculty way back in 2004. So just a little bit about myself. My name is Donovan Conley, and yeah, I've been here for quite some time at this point. The most senior member of the Department of Comm. I'm an associate professor, tenured. I'm a rhetoric scholar. I'm interested in, broadly speaking, I'm interested in style and materiality. I'm interested in the soft, interesting things like aesthetics and style and taste. Big concept for me. And then over here, I'm interested in materiality, is like hard stuff like technology and structures, and how do those things kind of play together, and where does persuasion fit within all of that. That's kind of broadly speaking my stuff. I'm a food guy. I write about food. I write about food systems. I write about food practices. I write about taste specifically, how it's formed, how it expresses itself, and how it changes, how we live together, and its importance. That's my work. In terms of teaching, I teach rhetorical tradition, I teach persuasion, I teach rhetoric stuff, right? And so criticism and theory and history, and trying to think about the relevance and the significance of rhetoric, thinking about it in terms of persuasion, influence, mediation, changing things that are changing and taking new shape. And out there in the culture and our daily lives, how influence and persuasion or suasion comes at us in all different kinds of ways. Obviously, I'm interested in food, and so I see food itself as a major source of suasion, choices we make and effects of our likes and dislikes and so on. So yeah, I've been teaching Comm 409. It used to be 211. We haven't, still 211. It's one of the classes that I'm also doing, but it's much different than it used to be. This used to be 211. It's the tradition, the rhetorical tradition. And now it's the upper division theory tradition classes, like major concepts. And so this is kind of my main class. I've been teaching it the most, the longest. I think it was last summer, summer before. I did a big refresh of the class, mostly the second half of it in terms of new content, new material, some new assignments. That was a big lift. I worked with the folks in the online education. They really helped me to make some major changes, also in Canvas. It looks a lot better than it used to. And I've now gone through, part of the reason why I'm a little bit behind here this semester is because I've now gone through and done another pretty big revision or change, and not just this class and all the classes I'm going to be doing this semester, and specifically around the grading process. So I've been kind of toying around with contract grading a little bit. I did it last semester, but only, did I do it in all my classes? I don't think so. So I'm going all in on contract grading this semester with all three of my sections. That meant that I had to really rethink my syllabi, my assignments, and it's going to take some more time for me to finish building it all out in Canvas, because I'm essentially removing all of the point values of all of the assignments, which previously I had built into the system in Canvas. You weight the assignments, the system knows what they're weighted, it does all of these like automatic calculations, right? And it's helpful, but I'm actually getting away from gradations of point values, and we're going more to a binary complete, incomplete kind of thing. Which I'll explain more in a second here. So anyway, that's kind of what I've been doing. So this class, Rhetorical Tradition, has now been rebooted in terms of the content and the kind of the look and feel of it. And now it's also taking a new turn in terms of the grading sort of paths or the assignment paths that you take through the class. But get back to that in a second. First, in terms of what the class is, it is not just a history class, and it's not just a theory class. I see it somewhere in the middle, right? And so it's a history of ideas about rhetoric, going back to the beginning, to the ancient context, to the Greeks and the Romans. The reason we go back there is because the stuff they were talking about, especially like Plato and Gorgias, two sort of opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of how they approached this business of persuasion. Plato was very skeptical. He was this conservative, idealistic philosopher, whereas Gorgias was more of like I think of him as like a Silicon Valley tech bro, like an Elon Musk or something, like very much about entrepreneurship and like go, go, go and advance. But he was really, really bright as well. But they're doing very different things, but the questions they were asking and the ideas they were entertaining and the way that they were going about their approaches is very relevant to today. So is Aristotle, so is Cicero. So we're going back to the origins because it's where it all began in terms of disciplinary history of rhetoric, right? We could make an ontological argument that rhetoric has existed since, I don't know, humans and fire or something like this. But in terms of the study, the practice, the training, the theorizing, the thinking, sort of the writing down of what this thing is, we go back to the ancient Greek models, and then we bounce into the Roman world for a bit, and then we jumped I used to spend more time in the kind of the middle periods. We would spend some time in the Renaissance and early modern period. It's all gone now. That's part of the reboot from the last year or so. And so we jump straight into the 20th century. So it's mostly like, let's get the foundational stuff kind of good, and then we'll jump straight into the 20th century where some big things happened in rhetoric. In the middle parts of the 20th century, and Kenneth Burke's a major figure, and Chaim Perelman's a major figure, and then there was some like, toward the end of the 20th century and on to today, there was a lot of like rethinking of things. And so that's, broadly speaking, the major kind of shape of the class in terms of like what we're going to be, covering, right? So we have these 4 content modules. We go from the classical origins for the first 5 weeks or so. Then like I said, we jump into the 20th century and we talk about the resurgence, the new rhetoric of the 20th century, which is really like, kind of neo-Aristotelian. And then we go into, and then the latter 2 modules are really kind of breaking down the latter part of the 20th century and then moving into our own current century. So rethinking rhetorics and then rhetoric's contemporary challenges. That's the whole enchilada there. Now, that leads us into the second page of the syllabus here, where we talk about the assignments and the contract grading. So let me try to break this down as best I can. So the idea here is that we have module quizzes. So of those 4 modules I just talked about, there's a quiz at the end of it meant to cover sort of like, again, quiz type stuff. Basic concepts, important principles, theories, theorists, and so on. And those are going to be multiple choice, and they're mandatory for everyone. And everyone needs to get 9 out of 10 in order to pass that quiz. But you can retake it as many times as you need to get to that 9 out of 10. So you can think of these as almost like homework activities. You can use your books and notes and all that kind of stuff. But it's a way to engage you in some important questions and making sure you have that kind of foundational stuff in place. Beyond that, we have concept papers, 2 of them. We have knowledge grids. Grids is not necessarily as literal as students have been going. But it's a kind of breakdown of the models in terms of some key questions. And then we have this thing called a concept diagram. So we have a total of 4, 6, 8, 9 assignments. Now, if you look down in the boxes there on page 2, what you're going to do is you're going to choose a contract, which I think of it also as a kind of a path through the class, right? So you can take the long path, you can take the medium path, or you can take the short path. Basically, the way it breaks down is number of assignments. So again, everyone's doing the quizzes. Beyond that, if you want the B, then you're going to choose 3 of the 5 remaining assignments. I don't care which ones they are. You can choose them based on which ones sound most interesting, which ones you think you might do best at based on, maybe you're a stronger writer or maybe you're a more creative kind of person for the diagram. Knowledge grids is somewhere in the middle. Or maybe it's just based on your schedule, right? I want to take seriously the fact that, someone just emailed me. I need to email them back. But they emailed me a few days ago to say, I got all these things going on. I got kids, I got jobs, I'm taking on this and that. I'm nervous about doing well in this class. So the goal here is the goal of contract grading is to acknowledge up front that students have different levels of interest or maybe capacity. Maybe time is just not as abundant for you right now as it might be in a different semester. So maybe you're okay with taking a B or a C this semester, even if you might ideally want to get the A. But this approach is asking you to be very honest with yourself and with me, I guess, in terms of like what you want to tackle, what you think you can take on, what your interest level is, what your investment level is, right? So you're going to do all 9 assignments for the A contract, or you're going to do the quizzes plus 3 more, so that's 7 for the B. And for the C contract, it's the quizzes plus just 1 more assignment. So quite different, right? And as I was working with Claude AI to kind of develop these ideas, and Claude's actually getting quite good at spotting things that I miss, and like it even made a fairly passionate defense of this approach, because I was trying to figure out, like, do I really just go with complete or incomplete, or what about grades, and how do I assess each individual submission, right? And it made a passionate defense. It was very like, it kept insisting. And the metaphor that Claude used was like running races, right? And it's saying, the difference between the A and the B and the C isn't that the A students run faster and the B students run slightly less faster and the C students barely run at all. It's more about like everyone's running fast. It's just the B contract, you're running fewer races, and the C contract, you're running even fewer races, right? So the expectation is full effort from everyone on every assignment. It's just that you get to choose your assignment load, right? And that's the main consideration here. So it all is spelled out on the pages 2 and then onward. And what I want to draw your attention to, top of page 3 here, is this business of complete versus incomplete. All right, so it's a binary system. You're either completed the assignment or you didn't complete the assignment. But there's some important considerations right here, and this is, I think, where the whole system kind of takes hold and matters, is in this business of what does completion mean. So pages 3 through the next couple of pages, all these boxes are letting you know what the completion standards are for the assignment. So this is us running full speed for each assignment. That's what completion means, is you're giving each assignment your best effort, right? It's not that the C students are the worst students who can't get it. No, the C contract students are fully expected to, produce A-level work, just less of it, okay? So it's more of a quantity than a quality distinction here. So what I've done is I've gone through and I've let you know, like, what are the completion standards? What are the expectations for each of these assignments? And so it breaks it all down. So now there's kind of 3 ways that each assignment can go, with the exception of quizzes. There's no revisions, there's no complete or incomplete. Just keep taking them until you get 9. And if you don't get 9, then it's incomplete, I guess, and it doesn't count, right? It shouldn't be that big of a deal. You're going to be let known what if you get a question wrong, and then you just kind of go back and try again, and you should be able to get it second time, no problem. It's like my son trying to get his driver's permit right now. He got 1 question wrong, so he's got to go retake the test. So the quizzes, just keep doing them until they're done. Now, the concept papers, the knowledge grids, and the concept diagram, they have more specific expectations. So it's kind of like these are the rubrics, the grading rubrics for each of these assignments. This information will be in the assignment descriptions in Canvas when you look at those assignments and see what you're needing to do. It's going to be spelled out there. So that's the bar for completion. If you don't hit it quite all the way, then you can get asked to do a revise, right? But you don't want to do a revise because you only get 1 on the major assignments that you take on, right? So because otherwise I would just be grading nonstop. It's meant to actually make my life easier as well. Like let's get honest with the kind of work that you actually want to do. Not everyone wants the A, not everyone wants to do all the work or can or has the time or whatever, right? But also it's like, why do I need to be grading a student assignments if they're not interested in doing the assignments and they don't care anyway, right? So let's get a little bit more honest about where you're at, and then that should alleviate some of my grading as well. So that's the idea of the revise. Is the revise is you're close to complete, but not quite. And I'll let you know, like a little bit more of this and a little bit more of this, and then you've got a week to make those changes, and that's it. And then you'll get your complete, right? And then on we go. So that's what I'm looking for and that's why I spent quite a bit of time developing these. What does completion mean for each of these assignments? So please read those closely, especially when it's time to submit those assignments, because that's going to really determine your success or lack of success each time out. So you've got 2 weeks to think about your contracts, and then I'm going to have a little like quickie kind of assignment that you just let me know in the system what assignment or what contract you're going to take on. And then you have the ability to revise that up until week 7. Through the end of week 7, you can change your contract based on how things are going. And after that, we're locked in. All right. Let's see here. So there's some, notes and suggestions on page 5 and 6. So page 6, it says contrast grading asks you to be honest with yourself and to make strategic choices about the level of engagement that you are likely able to make in this class this semester. And there's no judgment one way or the other. I don't really care which path you choose. I just hope that this sort of path structure, the contract structure, is useful for you. And hopefully there's a bunch of students out there who are like, oh, thank goodness, I don't have to do these extra 2 assignments if I just am happy with the B. And I don't really want to write a paper, or I really like writing papers, so I'm going to choose those 2. Couldn't care less about these grids. Whatever, you guys get to make your determinations. I like to, as much as possible, build flexibility and freedom and choice into my classes and give you space to be your best self and make your decisions that best suit you. So I am hoping that this system works. I'm hoping that I can figure everything out in Canvas so that I don't get tripped up by the Canvas system itself. So just to let you know that there's going to be some modifications still happening in the system. You might see some things change. That's likely having to do with these contracts and how I'm setting everything up. 17 minutes, yikes. So I should stop there. The schedule lists just what we're doing each week, so please jump in with the first videos and the first materials, the readings, and if you have any questions about the flow or expectations, please reach out. The last thing I'll say is I do have office hours stated for Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 o'clock on campus. I have 3 online classes again this semester, which kind of bums me out. I've been asking for at least one section of an in-person class with my undergraduates so that I can actually talk to you and get to know you. I don't see pictures. All I see are names. All I do is I get emails from students saying, hey, I'm late. Can I still submit this? Okay, cool. But I also like to meet you, to talk with you, and get to know you a little bit. I miss that. Problem is the classes that we schedule in the classroom don't fill up. They don't make. And so we cancel them routinely. I was supposed to teach a second section of this class in the classroom, but we had to cancel it because not enough students enrolled. So I hope that you come by and see me and say hello if you have questions about the class. And I would love to chat with you about the readings, the content, the material, the subject matter. All I would ask is please just give me a little heads up if you're coming to see me on campus, because I have found that students typically do not come to physical office hours very much. So I tend to, and because I'm teaching 3 classes at home, essentially, it's an hour, hour plus commitment to go to campus, to go to my office. And then if no one shows, then I got to kind of turn around and come back. And so maybe I'm always struggling. Do I go to office hours anyway, but no one ever shows up? So maybe just, give me a heads up if you think you might be coming in, and I'll definitely be sure to be there. And I want to be. I would love to meet you. I'd love to chat with you. So by all means, set up an appointment with me. Come by, say hi. But of course, we can also do Zoom meetings and whatnot, and regular old email and all that. So I think that's probably good here. 20 minutes is plenty. I think I've covered everything. Grading, assignments, the schedule. And this is a class I really love. There's a lot of material, but hopefully the contracts will help maybe even that out a bit for you based on where you're coming at, how you're coming at it. But you do need to have good organizational skills in this class. You do need to be ready and willing to read stuff that's a little bit weird, old Greek stuff. I include a lot of these old ancient texts. You're not expected to read through them all or to know them, directly from the original source, but I do like you to have that experience of reading Isocrates and Aristotle, not in their original Greek, ancient Greek, obviously, but these are the translated texts. This is kind of what it looks like on the page. But Herrick's really important. These videos are really important. And then there's lots of supplementary materials to help you along the way. So dive in, look around, get familiar with things, and reach out if you have questions, all right? So have a great semester, everyone. It's beautiful weather out there. I hope you're getting outside, and I hope we get to see each other soon. So be well. Talk soon.